Yo, what's up, folks? This Impact, and I want to take this time to welcome you all back to the Hurt Business 101. Let's get right into this video, man. Today's video, I want to discuss a little bit about what the state of boxing is today and my thoughts on what needs to take place in order for the sport to continue to thrive and gain more public interest so that it can be very profitable for everybody in the future, and we have no more networks deciding to pack up and leave the sport of boxing. Let's go. We all know Showtime recently just left boxing, and it seemed like a peculiar time for them to leave boxing because 2023 was so lit. Really great year of boxing. I'm more than pleased with what I received this year. But those guys did not decide to leave boxing because of 2023. They decided to leave boxing because of what's been happening for years leading up to 2023. And just like businesses that had to shut down their doors when COVID hit, and then, not post-COVID, but once they were able to open their doors up, they started seeing profits and making money again. But ultimately, they took so much of a financial beating while they were closed that even starting to make money again, the damage had already been done. They weren't able to keep the doors open because they had fallen so far behind in debt and all kind of things, and they just said, I'm gonna have to cut my losses. It's better for me to just stop right now because I can never recoup and ever steady the ship enough to be back where I need to be. And that's what happened with Showtime. Unfortunately, 2023 was a last-ditch effort. You think everybody just decided to start fighting each other out of nowhere? No, that's not what took place. And I don't put all the onus on the fighters. I put a lot of the onus on the promoters as well. And also a lot of it goes on the fans. They didn't just decide to do that. It was a last-ditch effort by everybody to try to save what they ultimately knew was coming down the pipe. Showtime already let those guys know. You think the people in the suits don't know the possibilities? You think they're not having meetings about losses, gains, projections? This is how business works. You know what I mean? They're trying to figure out if they should allocate resources into boxing anymore, or if they should take those resources and put them into things like TV series, original movies, docuseries, things like that. Things that make smaller gains, but consistent gains over time and not losses. And they can kind of predict, they have a better, easier time projecting what they can generate with that. With the boxing, it's like, we have a big year or a big fight here where we gain some money, and then we lose and lose and lose and lose and lose, and then we get another one, and it's not sustainable. And they look at those things. So everybody knew it was a last-ditch effort. 2023 was good, but 2023 has to be the standard going forward. It can't be the anomaly. Like, we can't go into 2024 and regress back into all these one-sided fights and these guys fighting no-hopers. We have to continue to put on the shows. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody has to eat. Journeymen, the guys, the higher level guys up in the top 10, some of the guys outside of the top 10. You can't have everybody fighting the best guy every time out. There's no way to sustain careers. Also, you need to have some voluntary defenses as well as mandatory defenses and stuff like that. One thing that needs to change, though, in order for boxing to go forward. Mandatory has to mean mandatory. You can look in any dictionary. Mandatory means it has to happen or else. It has to happen or else. It can't be, this is your mandatory, but you could bullshit around for 2 years and leave a mandatory waiting. There's only two things I believe that should trump a mandatory, and the public will respect it more. Step aside money to say, listen, I know you're the mandatory, but I really want to make this fight. Are you willing to take this amount of money to say, I'll forego my mandatory status for you to take this fight, and we'll revisit it next fight? I'm fine with that because that's a negotiation between two parties that they came to an agreement. The other thing I think should be able to trump mandatories is a unification bout that the public demands. I do believe that should trump. But a guy just being able to still hold on to a belt, almost like a witness protection program, while he's fighting everybody around his mandatory, and his mandatory sitting there trying to beg for a fight. The sanctioning bodies have to hold these guys accountable. Okay, you have to say, if you don't fight the mandatory, we're going to strip you, unless it's a unification, or unless you come to terms with that man so he steps aside. Other than that, you're stripped. That's it. If you are in a unification bout, you can trump the mandatory. But when that belt changes hands, either the person that has that belt needs to do a step aside, or he has to fight the person that's up for the mandatory shot next. That's it. Okay? Now, with that being said, i.e. Bud and the Bud Spence winner, Boots was the mandatory for a while prior to that. He was Spence's mandatory. Now we know Bud won the fight, so rightfully, Bud should have to defend against Boots. However, another thing that needs to change, rematch clauses. They need to take rematch clauses out of boxing. Mandatory rematch clauses and stuff like that out of boxing. They should take that shit out because nobody wanted to see Crawford and Spence again. This is another thing that needs to stop so that boxing can move forward. Because, as we know, Terrence Crawford got stripped of his belt because he wasn't fighting Boots. However, Earl Spence chose to, enforce his rematch that he had every right to do. As a result, Bud couldn't fight Boots if he wanted to because he's already obligated to fight Spence again. If that mandatory rematch clause wasn't in there, Crawford would have the ability to say, hell no, I don't want to fight Spence again. It's not worth it. And at that point, it would be, Boots, you got to defend against Ennis or we're stripping you. That's how boxing needs to go. No more of this nonsense. Now, we know the UFC has Dana White. When the public demands a fight, we're getting it right away. There's no playing games. Okay? If the guys have a fight lined up, they go through it what they got. But they come into that table. And they're going to fight, or you're going to get set, your ass going to be up on that shelf waiting. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that needs to change. Now, the fighters, I don't believe in one person having a monopoly on everything because fighters need options. We need more than one network, more than one promoter in boxing. It's not enough platform. One network or one promoter don't have enough platform to, one promoter can't sustain boxing. You know what I mean? You need multiple platforms so everybody can eat. Fighters need to stay active. It's not enough fight dates if only one person is handling everything. So that's another thing that needs to change. And I'm going to talk about the fans real quick. The promoters are following the money, which is you guys. You guys have to change. We have a segment of fans, and I'm going to say this. If it don't apply, let it fly. But if it does apply, I want this to stick to you like a fucking fly on that yellow sticky paper, because some of you guys are soft as baby shit after mashed potato and gravy dinner. And I'm gonna tell you why. You would rather a fighter that you like fight nobody than get in a fight where they have a chance to lose. I don't connect to guys like that. I'm sorry. I'm just not built like that. If I like a fighter, I like his mentality, I like what he brings to the ring. I enjoy watching him put on display of boxing. If that man loses, I don't even care. I just break the fights down and I just say, whoa, that you know what I mean? I congratulate the other guy, break down what I saw, that's it. Y'all gotta try to find a way to mask your feelings. Okay, you guys get so distraught when a guy loses that you start attacking people, calling names, and you guys care about, oh, my guy's the cash cow, and he shouldn't, he should had to take a bigger split because he can't sell arenas. You worried about shit that the promoters and the fighters should be worried about and stuff like that. You fans, you should be worried about the best product. And what you're actually doing is hindering the sport, because promoters looking at your response, and the promoters are saying, damn, we got to keep this guy winning, because, you know, if he takes this loss, the fans going to just discard him and not going to support him, and then the gig is up. You know what I'm saying? And the fighters is looking at it like, damn, we take on these risks and we lose, they're going to call us bums and overrated, and then we're not going to be able to make money anymore. UFC is not like that. Those guys take losses. The fans still stick by them because they understand that, losses come with tough fights. So, like, everybody needs to get their shit together, because DAZN, Amazon Prime, all these digital platforms, they'll leave. It's not that boxing, listen, HBO and Showtime and all that, they got digital platforms where they could just support boxing there and find a way to just still go about business the other way. They chosen to just wash their hands with it because nobody's trying to lose money. These networks don't give a shit about boxing. They don't have a passion for boxing like that. They got a passion for money, green. And if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And some of you guys are really helping to hinder the process, and ultimately you know what I mean, you're actually getting the opposite of what you should want, and that's entertainment for your money. We all here to be entertained. And maybe you should reconsider whether you even watch boxing if you can't control your emotions, and you feel like you're going to be crushed for weeks and weeks and weeks about a fighter you like losing. I think maybe you need to deal with your emotions. It's something's going on, man. Go to counseling, get hugged often, something. You know what I'm saying? But for boxing to survive, we're going to need 2023 to be the standard, not the anomaly. And everybody, fighters, promoters, fans, content creators, got to stop bullshitting. Demand these fights, and demand these fighters get up in there, or don't give them your support. That's the only way to force their hand, the money. That's it for now, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Hurt Business 101. You know what they say, it's no business like show business, but I say it's no business like the hurt business. 1-0-1, done.